boys and girls, it's Miss Ball, and I am here for another lesson for all of my second grade friends. I hope you're having a great summer so far. You're working through summer school and all of your learning, which is amazing that you guys are continuing that. I hope that you've reached out to your teacher or that your teacher has reached out to you and that you're really enjoying that interaction with your teacher and your peers and the lessons that we're doing. Today, we have a lesson as well as a game. So be sure to stay tuned because I'm going to teach you a game that you can play at home with your siblings or your family or on teams with some of your friends. Or you may even be able to play it on your own in your interactive tools. Let's get started. Today's lesson is lesson number 3. We're continuing finding sums and writing equations. And remember, we've been identifying pairs of numbers that have sums of 10, and we've started calculating numbers. We practiced our 10 frame, we read our book, 10 Friends, and we have got a little bit into our workspace book. Today, in this book, I would like for you to turn to page 61. So if you don't have this book handy, go ahead and run and get it. Quick, quick, quick. Also a pencil or something to write with. I'll give you a few seconds. All right, hopefully you've got those materials. If you didn't, hurry back. You're going to turn in that book to page 61. And 61 is labeled math vocabulary. Your numbers are down at the bottom in little black circles. So on page 61, we are going to work through this book. All throughout the summer, you're going to add vocabulary words that may be new to you, or you may have heard them or used them, but you were not 100% sure on the definition, or just need a refresher. Remember at the beginning, I had my vocabulary word wall? We have been working on 10 frames. That's one of your words you can add in there if you have not done so. Pairs and sums. Sum is a keyword I really would like for you to write in there. You're going to write the word sum. Now I have a definition here, but think about what a sum is. If we have an equation, an addition equation, the sum is the answer to that problem. So you can write the word sum, and for your definition, you could put the answer you get when you add 2 or more numbers. Is that pretty long? I think you guys can write that. But if we want to shorten it, let's just say sum, the answer you get when you add numbers. You can also go in your book to page 64 is your glossary, and you see that word sum there? So the definition is there as well. The sum is the answer you get when you add 2 or more numbers. In the addition equation, 2 plus 3 plus 5 equals 10. 10 is the sum. We can ask the question, what is the sum of 2 and 3? This is the same as saying, what is 2 plus 3? Or 2 plus symbol 3. I know, guys, that's a whole lot. That's a long definition. So copy what you can to help you remember what the sum is. The next word I would like for you to write is equation. E-Q-U-A-T-I-O-N. Equation. And again, that word is in your glossary, actually on page 63 this time, in the second column, the second word. So I've spelled it up here for you. It's also in your book. Equation. E-Q-U-A-T-I-O-N. I-O-N. And I've been using that word when I've been writing equations. Let's read on page 63 what it tells us the definition is. An equation is a number sentence that uses an equal sign to show that two amounts have the same value. For example, 3 plus 4 equals 7. Both sides have the same value of 7. So an equation is a number sentence. Let's write that as our definition. A number sentence that uses the equal sign. That uses the equal sign to show the amounts have the same value. So we are just going to stop there because I want to write an example of an equation. Remember, if you don't get through these, it's okay. Your teacher is here to also help you with these definitions. So you can bring that up to your teacher and ask them, Miss Trabal, I need a little bit more help. Can you explain what an equation is? Or maybe you can help explain what an equation is to some of your friends or your peers. If I have an equation like 3 plus 4 equals 7, I see I have the equal sign, 3 and 4. If I put 3 in my 10 frame, or start at the number 3, and add 4 more, I will have 7. And on this side of the equal sign, we see 7. So this equation of 3 plus 4 balances or is the same as 7. Okay? And the last word that I would like to fill in, I'm going to move this here, is added. A-D-D-E-N-D. Addend. And if we go to page 63 of our glossary, the second word is addend. And it says, in the equation 4 plus 2 equals 6, the two numbers being added are called addends. 4 and 2 are addends. 6 is the sum. There may be many addends. In 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 equals 10, 1, 2, 3, and 4 are all addends. So the numbers being added are called your addends. Let's write that same equation that we used as our other example. 3 plus 4 equals 7. I could label this and say this whole thing, this whole number sentence is my equation. That's a big word for my big second graders. This whole thing is the equation. We discussed the word sum, and we said the sum is the answer to an addition equation. So 7 is your sum. And the last word we talked about was addend, the numbers being added. So which two numbers are being added together? Did I hear you say 3 and 4? I did. 3 and 4 are your addends. Those are the two numbers that are being added together in the equation to get the sum of 7. Big words for my big second graders, but I know we can use them. So as you're talking with your teacher, with your parents, or with anybody about your math, be sure to start to use those words. Make them part of your vocabulary. I'm sure they would love to hear you using them. So you're adding that in to page 61, and I'll move over to give a few more minutes or a few more seconds to take a look. Remember, you can ask your teacher if you need a little bit more assistance in understanding the vocabulary. And if there's ever words that you hear in our lessons, write them there and then go back later to ask. Okay, so let's look at our book again. 10 Friends. We were working in this book before, or in our last video. And remember, in the book, there were lots of friends. On my board, I'm going to write some numbers. We'll switch this over. We had the number 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Can you remember some of the characters in our book? I believe we had 10 firefighters. We had 9 grizzly bears. You guys are great. You're remembering. 8 tailors. That means there were 7 sailors. 6 ballerinas. 5 shepherds, because the shepherds have their sheep. 4 frogs. Our ballerinas and our frogs were together. 3 drummers. There were 3 drummers. And it rhymes, there were 2 plumbers. And 1 forest ranger. Wow, did you guys remember all of those characters? That was a lot of characters. I had to list them in order from highest or largest down to the smallest, but you guys helped me. Great job. Do we remember the combinations? Okay, this is where I would like for you to go in your interactive tools, and we're going to try to put these combinations together on our 10 frame.
So I've logged in to our module for Do the Math. And if you see here, you have some options: M tools, games, and lessons. Now on the side here, I have listed out the characters that we wrote on the whiteboard just so it would be easier for us to reference. I'm going to click on my M tools, and we are working with a 10 frame. There's a few options: the quick look cards, the 10 frame, 100 frame, and 100 pocket chart. We're using the 10 frame. And now when I click on 10 frame, I have a blank space. I'm going to add the 10 frame from down below. And let's think, over here to the side, we have our list. And I want to pull 2 combinations, or put a combination together using 2 of these groups of characters to get a sum of 10. Let's start with the firefighters. There are 10 firefighters, which means I'm going to use 10 green square tiles. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. If I have 10 firefighters, I don't have any space to add any other characters. So our equation would be 10 plus 0 equals 10. Let's make another combination. Let's choose 9 bears. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 grizzly bears. I see I have one empty space here. Which character would fill that one space? Did you say 1 forest ranger? I hope so. So 9 bears plus 1 forest ranger equals 10 friends for our tea party. How about, do you want to try the shepherds? 5 shepherds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And because I have 5 shepherds, let's put this here. Oh, we forgot a character. We forgot to add the fluffy sheep, but our shepherds help our sheep. So I need 5 sheep. 3, 4, 5. And my new equation becomes 5 plus 5, which gives us 10. Okay, let's try 2 more combinations. Which one do you guys want to pick? Did I hear somebody say the sailors? Let's try. Sailors are 7. There are 7 sailors. I know, even before counting each individual box, there's going to be 5 in the top row. So if I'm here at 5, I know this would be 6, and this next one makes 7. 7 sailors can only be combined with something that has 3, because there are 3 empty spaces. And therefore, it would be our drummers. 1, 2, 3 drummers and 7 sailors would complete our 10 friends list. And our last combination. Let's try a smaller number. Let's try our frogs. 4 frogs. If I used my green tiles to represent my frogs, 1, 2, 3, 4 frogs, how many empty spaces do I have? And which character group can I add to this number? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I see 6 empty spaces, which leaves room for the 6 ballerinas. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Excellent job. So see here, you can use these list group of characters to create different combinations. Do you have any books at home that maybe you can read and find characters? Whenever you find your characters, see if you can combine them. Maybe you have a snack that you want to combine. If you have 4 gummy bears, and your cousin has 6 gummy bears. Altogether, do you have 10 gummy bears? Did you fill out your 10 frame? That's what we are checking. Next, we're going to move on to a game that I would like to teach you. And this game has to do with pairs of numbers. So I'm going to switch over to our games tool. When I click games, I'm brought to this screen that has a couple of games. We're playing 7 Up today. So I'm going to click on 7 Up. And actually, if you see, I still have my 10 frame up from before, but I also have the 7 Up game. This is how you can play it online. But if you turn in your workspace book to page 10, so everybody turn to page 10, I'm going to go to page 10 on my screen so you can see what it looks like as well. On page 10 are the game rules for 7 Up. What do you need? In order to play 7 Up, you need number cards. 4 sets of number cards from 1 to 10. Now, if you don't have number cards, that's okay. Do you have a regular deck of cards lying around in your house? If you do, those are perfect because they have the same numbers. And even though they have the Jack, Queen, and King, or an ace, you can take those out and then you have your number cards. So that would be perfect to use. If you don't have a deck of cards, you could also use index cards or pieces of paper. And just get a few index cards and you want to write the number 1 through 10 and then put that to the side, and you're going to write 1 to 10 again. And you're going to do that 4 times, and you've just created your own set of number cards. So those are a few options. You could use the interactive tools, which we saw when you clicked on games, and we'll get into what that game looks like with those cards. Or you could use your own number cards that you created or a deck of cards. You've got options. Now, step 1 for 7 Up. 7 cards would always be facing up. So you're going to deal 7 cards face up in a row. Here's my blank deck of cards. And then you're going to deal 7 cards face up. We've been working on pairs of numbers that have a sum of 10 when added together. So my second step is to look at that deck of cards and see if I see any pairs that equal 10. For example, here we have 10. So I can pull that out. Even though that's not a pair, I don't need anything else to make 10 because I already have 10. So I can pull my 10 out. Also, 9 and 1 is a pair that makes 10. That will complete a 10 frame, so I can pull those out. I'm looking and I see 6 and 3 does not make a pair of, or that pair does not make 10. 6 and 3 again. 3 and 2, 6 and 2. Those are not pairs that equal 10. So I'm going to go down and deal new cards face up to replace the cards that we took out. So here we took our 10 away, so I'm going to deal a new card, revealing a 2. And for the 9 and 1, I'm going to replace those, and they ended up being replaced with 1 and 5. So I'm going to now look at this deck that I have, my new deck, and see, do I have any pairs that equal 10? 2 and 6 do not. 6 and 1. I know to make 10, when I have 6, I need 4. And I don't see a 4 here, so I'm not going to be able to use that 6. If I have a 1 here, I would need 9 more to make 10, and I don't see a 9, so I know that I'm done with this deck. I'm going to go back to my pile of cards and flip a new deal over all of these. So I've passed out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 new cards face up, and I have a new set to now see if I can figure out pairs that equal 10. When there are no possible 10s, deal a new row of cards face up on top. Okay, lots of directions. You can definitely refer back to those directions on page 10, but let's play around, a couple of rounds here, to see if we can get a better understanding. So I have my interactive cards here, and all of my spaces are blank. I'm going to deal all 7 cards. Great. Now I've dealt my 7 cards. I left this 10 frame here because if I'm not sure of my pairs, I can still use my manipulatives to help me. Let's see, if I have 4, I know I need 6 more. And if I'm not sure, I could go to my interactive 10 frame and plug in 4 square tiles. 2, 3, 4. And how many empty spaces do I have left? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And since I need 6, I don't see a 6 here, so I can't pull 4 out to make 10. What about 8? If I had 8 square tiles in these boxes, in this 10 frame, I would need 2 more. I don't see a 2 here, so I cannot take away 8. But how about 9? I know that if I have 9 squares, 1 more square would equal 10. So I see 1s here, lots of 1s. I can pull my 9 and my 1. Okay. Now again, since I have a 1, I would need another 9. I don't have 1, and I'm going to move here to 7. What number makes 10 when it's added to 7? Did you say 3? If you did, you're correct. But I don't see a 3 here. So I'm going to go to my deck and flip 2 cards to fill those empty spaces. And perfect! I got 2 10s on my first try. So I can move these 10s down, because 10, and then another 10. And none of these change, so let's flip new cards. Wow, another 10. Let's move this one, flip again. Okay, a 3. I'm pretty sure one of these numbers would pair up with 3 to make 10. Was it 8? I don't think so. 4 is too small. 1. 3 plus 1 makes 4. I believe it was 7. And how could I check my work? Well, we could move on over here to our 10 frame and plug in 3 green tiles. And hopefully, there's now 7 empty spaces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, which there are. So if I filled these boxes with 7 yellow tiles, I would have a completely full 10 frame. So I will pull 3 and 7 out of my deck and deal 2 new cards once again. One of my cards was an 8. And we already know from this 8 that I need 2 more to fill my 10 frame. And we do not have a 2, so we cannot use that. Now going to the 5, I know that if 5 squares are in the first row of a 10 frame, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, there are also 5 in the second row. And I do not have another 5, so I cannot use any of these cards. Do you remember what the next step was? If I cannot use any of these cards, well, if you go back to your workspace page, 10, it tells you when there are no possible 10s, deal a new row of cards face up on top. So we're going to deal all 7 new cards and start the process over. Okay, guys, so your challenge today, you're going to play the 7-Up game and get a family member involved. Ask them if you can teach them this cool new game, which will help you practice adding your pairs of numbers to equal 10. I promise you will have a blast. Keep practicing. I'll see you tomorrow.